What's going on, everyone? I hope you well and doing great on this Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. Guys, I don't want to be sensational over here. The thumbnail here and the title is talking about how seizure equals accumulation. Everyone's talking about what's going on with the Bitcoin reserve. They want to see that stacking continue. It looks like the United States, I thought this when this happened. I don't know, it was 2 weeks ago, and the UK had gone ahead and seized this Bitcoin, but the US is now holding it. And the US is now holding 325,283 Bitcoin. Let's take a look at this and then we'll get into what's going on as Powell is speaking right now. Powell is talking about that they all of a sudden have data that no one else has and that they're seeing growth. They're talking about winding down QT. We saw that the NASDAQ and S&P 500 closed the gap from the weekend. We'll take a look at that. Is the top in? Is QE coming? QE. Let's take a look at it all right now. First of all, let's start over here with this. As per expectations so far, right? And again, the only expectation that we had was that we were not going to see a euphoric rise during October. Now, granted, we still got a little bit of a couple of weeks ahead of us. We're only mid-October. By the way, this is such a big moment in time. You all know I've been waiting for the end of October to see any type of like, not reacceleration yet, but bulls being able to hold their ground and then hopefully seasonalities follow. We have over here two important dates right now I'm going to start off with. And this is coming to October 31st to November 2nd. It's when we have the summit between Z and Trump. And right now we're seeing massive amount of posturing coming from both sides, assuming that they're able to get through this summit, assuming they're able to show up. If they don't show up, if there's no summit, bad news bears. Like, there's no question about it. The bears will be back, and they're probably going to take out some really important critical levels and hit like a real correction. Now, assuming they don't meet, I imagine, I wish Polymarket had a betting on whether or not they're going to meet. I imagine they are. And then right around that same time, we have such an important moment over here. We have big tech earnings, and we have the 29th of October, days before the summit. Oh no. Hold on one second, y'all. I gotta get the pointer up. I had a little bit of a restart. And how's everyone doing today? I know most of CTM was unscathed from that massive liquidation and dump. Some people not, and that hurts my heart. I want everyone making sure you're doing what's ever necessary to stay ahead. It's getting behind is compounding in time. You cannot replace either which one. We have Microsoft and Meta and Alphabet on the 29th of October. Very, this is to me the day that I've been pointing out, and I want to see that we continue to see signs that they're going to continue to spend. Very important to watch. So if we get past this, what I deem to be the most critical point ahead in the next couple of weeks, there's a good chance that we're able to stabilize and continue. I wonder, bad news, and it doesn't, Bitcoin doing Bitcoin things, bad news bears, the markets are not crashing. Either way, they're going to take it. So anyway, so let's start off with Bitcoin. We're not seeing the parabolic rise that so many thought. A lot of people could say, well, the market topped and we're about to hit a bear market. You know how it works. 12 months, 70 to 85% correction. A lot of people might be thinking that's what's going to happen. How soon are we to hit a new all-time highs? Again, we got to get past those dates that I just showed you. If we get past those dates with good news, I think that we're going to see some nice movement November and December. Yeah, I mean, as far as price targets or anything like that, this is the best estimation that I could give of what we're going to see. And this pretty far. I'm trying to point to a year from now. So let's see if we hit it. And I don't think we're going to see any type of euphoric rise, and I don't think that we're seeing any type of bear market ahead. I think what we're seeing is a lot more of the sustainable channel. We got a lot to navigate, and the macro can change rapidly, so we'll stay in front of it and we'll see what happens. The U.S. seeks forfeiture of 127,000 Bitcoin, $12 billion tied to the international scam run by Chinese national Shenzhen. And the question is, at first someone's asking Grok, this is a little over an hour ago, is that true? And Grok's like, no confirmed of the recent seizure. That claim seems to be from unverified news. Digging in a little further, this is after that. Hey, Grok, is that true? And yes, the Department of Justice did file a civil forfeiture complaint targeting the 127,000 Bitcoin. Well, like, why would the U.S. have claim on that? Well, a lot of U.S. citizens were scammed out of that, and the U.S. the Department of Justice believes that it was wire fraud, money laundering, and they're going ahead and they're filing claim to it. So, we have one more over here. Hold on. So, the question is really who has the Bitcoin now? And the Department of Justice has already because guys, you hear things all the time. I don't want to like this was like kind of like breaking happening. I don't want to present to you anything that is unverified whatsoever. And you know me, I sincerely just don't trust. Trying to verify, and I'm going off a LLM. So, I mean, you could just do a little bit of research, but never trust an LLM either. It turns out that they already have the seized Bitcoin. I did go ahead and try to verify that, and I asked, like, look, who holds the Bitcoin right now? And it does seem that the Department of Justice is holding that Bitcoin in this particular moment. I think we would all be very surprised if the U.S. were to give up seized Bitcoin. And of course there'll be people who were scammed. They might get claim. It likely will not. It likely will not be Bitcoin. I mean, in Japan and Mount Gox, everyone got back the Bitcoin ultimately after a long time. The U.S. probably would give back the dollar amount as per the U.S. Anyway, the U.S. continues to stack, now holding potentially 325,000 Bitcoin inside the Bitcoin reserve. I think the bright side of this is, well, the U.S. In the Bitcoin strategic reserve, they're not selling that Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin that was held could have potentially been sold anytime. It looks like it has gone into strong hands. We'll find out whether or not that's true. I don't think so. I don't. I mean, U.S. is still holding Bitfinex Bitcoin. If they give it back, it's probably from the dollar amount at the time it was seized. Same thing. If I imagine, remember what happened with U.S. courts and FTX, BlockFi, users got back the amount of Bitcoin in the dollar amount at the time. So that's likely what would happen. But again, developing, we don't know. I don't know. I personally don't think that the U.S. acts in good faith. Maybe it does. Just my own personal beliefs. Anyway, let's see what's going on over here. Powell taking the mic over here, and markets unchanged on the day after massive volatility. That volatility here led to closing the gap left from the weekend. And you can see once closed ahead of Powell, market shooting up. Powell was speaking just 10 minutes before we went live, and he says that the data before the U.S. government shut down, it suggests that growth may be better than expected, right? And he's saying that a couple other things that are very important, that he's saying the U.S. the Federal Reserve has data, additional data to utilize. That data has, if anything, not been very, let's say, good as obviously Fed Powell here behind the curve of everything that's going on. We talked about that a lot. I think this was interesting that they're saying that QT may be coming to an end in coming months. And once it comes to an end, then we likely see, and again, this is here what we've for the last few years now, since 2022, have said what would be the Fed cycle and the way it would happen. And once they stop QT, our expectations are that that balance sheet begins rising. Now, I wonder if this is what you were talking about, David, when you said that, that could be QE coming. Now, it's not right. It's not outright QE. They're not buying securities. However, if the balance sheet is going up, the last time that happened, risk actually melted up. So it will be interesting to see, and that right there is usually the signal for Ethereum really to begin outpacing Bitcoin. We'll see if those two things happen once again. I saw I saw. So first of all, calls so far. It's too soon. It's way too soon. Expectations after Powell was speaking today. By the way, let's take a look and actually just I mean the same. He's talking about it looks like that growth is happening. You see Treasury Secretary Bessent saying the government shutdown is actually starting to hit the economy. Who knows who to believe? I don't believe any of these people whatsoever. But it seems that we're looking at another 25 basis points cut at the end of the month. And then shortly thereafter, in early December, it looks like that's the direction that we are headed. And it looks like, as Powell does step down from his tenure, that more than likely the next Federal Reserve chairman or woman is likely going to continue this pace of cuts. Paul Tudor Jones was on the horn today, and he was talking about how he sees Fed funds rates down to about 2.5, 2.75 a year from now. Paul Tudor Jones does have a history of getting it right. I remember in November 2018 when the Fed cut, he said that that was a policy mistake. And from then on, that you're going to see the Fed begin cutting. He was exactly correct. Now, everyone and timing, it's tough going out there making calls when yes, the macro can change rapidly and there's a lot of moving parts and pieces. But Paul Tudor Jones is pretty good track record. I would pay attention. We are seeing a lot of people thought that once the Fed cut in September, we would see bond selling off. That has not happened yet at all. And a lot of people thought that mortgage rates would rise. That hasn't happened either. And it does seem that the market is not pricing in this bout of inflation that everyone thought was going to happen and worried about. Powell did mention that he's saying the tariffs have been pushing up price pressure. Are tariffs inflationary or are they actually deflationary, right? And are we worried about inflation going forward or are we worried about deflation? Oil for sure pricing in so far that deflationary pressures. I believe the housing market in the future is absolutely going to be pricing in very strong deflationary pressures. We'll find out what happens. What about that growth? When is that growth? Jordan, you see us reaccelerating in the time ahead, right? And I don't have a time frame from that. I don't know if it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months from now, but I do. And especially right now with the Fed, having monetary policy aligned, they're gonna looking back, it's gonna be the same thing that happened in 1998, in my opinion. Fed cutting into a boom. Certainly doesn't look like a boom for a lot of people out there. We're very aware of the reality, and the reality is a lot of people are suffering. The reality is a lot more people are going to be suffering going forward. And the reality is you need to make really smart decisions from here going forward so that as we fast forward 3 and 7 years from now, you are absolutely in a position of power and didn't get left behind, because a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to get left behind. Let's go over our positioning really quick. Bitcoin bull runs back in the market and stopped out. That's fine. It has a very, very low win ratio, 20% win ratio. We see that Cardano picking up a short trade, looking at it from a discretionary standpoint. I mean, you had, guys, I tweeted right here. I really wanted to buy Cardano right over here, seeing it off 60%. I was unable to, and very quickly it had bounced 100%. That's like Jim Rogers. You wait till you see money over on the other side of the room and you go over and pick it up. Unfortunately, these exchanges are really horrible and just simply were not, it was not possible. Since then, is that, you know, is that a bear flag forming? I don't know. I think that it's probably the right decision here to feel out a short for sure. You could see that weakness, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and Solana much weaker over here. And the potential here for a short is currently live. We saw that small loss on the IBIT trade, exiting the market down over here on that massive gap down. And then you saw at the same time strategy closing its short, also gapping down. So, I mean, slight loss between the two. Someone doesn't agree with that. A lot of people didn't agree with yesterday's video. Before we get there, this is amazing. Follow those with a history of getting it right. I was looking at a thread, and it was the first time I've met the acquaintance of Leopold. And Leopold used to work for OpenAI. He was let go for this kid is, first of all, brilliant. I mean, so ridiculously brilliant that you have to watch this video. And even when he's like, listen, the interviewer here who you're looking at is also quite smart, really intelligent, really informed, really. And as Leopold is listening, the whole time he's listening, he goes, He's and I'm like, it seems like such a quirk, but he's so focused on every single word that the interviewer is asking, and in the same time processing it. I mean, listen, I'm gonna play this because it's so funny. This is a long interview. It's like 4 hours. I'm about 2.5, 3 hours in, and often in this video, this is the vibe, and it's so I'm not. It's fun. I'm having fun with it, but this is two people completely dorking out and enjoying it, and this is the vibe. You ready?
And they're like, yeah, I guess that would be naturalized.
That's the short summary of my post or my view on the project.
And that type of laughing takes place the whole time. It's absolutely brilliant. But Leopold here, after leaving OpenAI, went ahead and started a fund. I think he raised $1.5 billion, and the investments that he's picked up is absolutely crushing it so far, crushing it like no other. And his expectations about what is actually going to transpire ahead happen to align with the way that we're going over here. And so far, I mean, 1 year is not a big deal. But anyway, incredibly interesting to listen to. So bright, it's ridiculous. There's a lot to learn. I love the laughing though that happening throughout. And listen, I don't know, but let's keep going. Oh, a lot of people were not happy with the video from yesterday, and that's fine. Look, from what I see, a lot of people out there are definitely bruised up. A lot of people think the top's hit and this is over. Like some after listening to you, I sold all my positions. You clearly are new here and not listening to me. I don't know really anyone more bullish into 2026 than myself, except I'm not bullish from like I think that we're about to hit a euphoric rise. outside of an adoption event, I don't know how to tell you any clearer. That's not happening. That is not happening. But nevertheless, the sustainable channel continues. As far as our positioning, yeah, these are swing trades. Actually, picking up a short over here, and that's like momentum is not kicking up right now after the massive crypto crash that took place. It wasn't a crypto event; it was across markets, and this took us all out of some very sizable positions. We got to walk away in profits, which was nice, but it could have gone the other way. We could have got hurt. We could have, on Monday morning gapped down significantly. There's nothing easy about it at any point in time. And you know what? Just keep grounded. We'll just leave it there. I like this chart over here. I think we'll start with this one though. And this points out to you, a lot of people think that we're in a bubble. And I don't think we're in a bubble or anywhere close to a bubble. Here's what 1999 looks like. We looked at that ascent. Raul put out a pretty good chart, also very much illustrating what that looked like in comparison. And you can see the current trajectory, and then back when we were in that 1999, and then that's a bubble, right? Raul points to many. I really, really, really appreciated this thread, the value offered into it. It definitely aligns very much with myself. Bull market, 3 years old. Interesting to note that look, like, again, tomorrow I might show up and might be like, okay, we saw Alphabet or Meta or Microsoft like drastically reduce their expectations for capex spending next year, and that's a game changer. And I'm gonna like, boom, I will pivot in a second if need be. There's nothing to suggest that any of that is happening right now. A lot of people looking at the jobs market, they're really worried. Unfortunately, and we have earnings to confirm in just a moment here coming up in the next couple of weeks. But these companies continue to not only, continue to rake it in, but their expectations so far continue to rise. It's a race. It's real. Here we are. I'm not. He's so ridiculously intelligent that watch the video. He's so ridiculously. Is he wearing no shoes? I didn't even notice that. Hold on one second. Let me come back over here. Oh, he's got no shoes on. It's a 4-hour conversation. Makes sense. But listen, fantastic and a lot to learn. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So Dave, I think what you're talking about when you mentioned that we could be getting some QE coming forward is likely when the Fed stops QT and then the balance sheet begins rising. That's not outright QE, and I don't think we're going to return to outright QE unless we move into a situation where the Fed needs to step in to provide that liquidity. That would be in a crisis situation. Right now, we are just, let's say, trying to get through the end of October and see whether or not the Trump Z summit and the trade tensions between China and the United States are able to continue to be copacetic, or whether or not we see an escalation that is going to be long lasting. Any type of long lasting escalation is going to, I don't think either one of them are in a position to do that. So I don't think that's what we're going to see. That would be bad news bears. Same thing, we got to watch for earnings of the big tech companies and see what their plans are. And I believe that they're going to continue to spend. We talked about what the holes are, or the concerns, and the biggest concern that I could see is that there's simply not enough power in the United States to be able to meet these enormous projections into the end of the decade. That's real. But I don't think that, that today, tomorrow, or into the end of the year, that is going to cause any type of we don't have a lifetime price, and to be honest, like the price is extremely affordable is all I could say, and that's done so that anyone who wishes to participate is able. So I wouldn't know how to price something like this for a lifetime, uh, but for sure we tried to make this. Main Street is most important. We want to take care of everyone, and that's how it is definitely priced. So and anyway, you're right. And it's not judging. I have the utmost respect for, first of all, people who have a history of getting it right. That's why I was attracted in that area. And I'm 2.5 hours into the conversation because it's not often you get to sit down and hear two people who are so informed and so intelligent discuss what they believe the future is going to look like, what is happening now, but at the same time they're able to have a conversation where if one doesn't see it in the same eyes or in the same light, they're able to say that, and the other person doesn't, like, they're able to intellectually talk it out, and it's beautiful. It's really wonderful to see. um so where are we today, and what else is on your mind? Ethereum, right? Look, I guess the pause. What's the pause about? Um, I guess I have the bulls in the background after the 6 7 days of bears, and the reason was because of that massive event we saw on Friday. I don't think without further escalation that we're gonna take out those lows. We got some critical areas to look at though, and I'll start off with Bitcoin because it's very clear and very apparent, and we continue to hold another retest, right? We had this in before the dump on Friday. We liquidated under it with all those highly leveraged liquidations that took place, but the body's held. We tested it again this morning, and it's held so far. A close below that is likely going to set up a bigger correction. Same thing with Ethereum. Just jump it back over, and Ethereum, we did wick, but so much different with Ethereum than Bitcoin from online, and so much as that. By the way, we were all over the original sell impulse. Expectations were that we could come down over here. Liquidation caused us to go under. We had trouble with that line of what was support holding as resistance. So that support, hopefully that was the retest and it holds. Closing back below here and then taking it out. That Cardano short is really going to start building into profit. That's the line to watch out. The ETFs don't really tell much of a story. There were a lot of outflows, but generally with the ETFs, that's exactly what we see. They're depending on price action. Silver still above 50, ridiculous, and gold continues once again to see that revaluation occurring in real time. A lot of people might be wondering, where's Bitcoin in all of this? Bitcoin is going to do Bitcoin things. We have different, let's say, metrics and areas to go off of. Even with altcoins, this is when the bull market started, right? And Bitcoin leading, BNB and Ethereum. Now, obviously, Solana is definitely taking that massive ahead. But what about from the top? Because we saw Solana took a massive bear market. So I'm just curious from the top over here, and interesting story, right? All of a sudden, Solana looks not doesn't look so, like, it looks a lot more grounded, and BNB continues here, the winner, the big winner, definitely outpacing, but that's only after the last liquidation event that it was able to gain foot. Perspective is everything. The Bitcoin chart doesn't look good. Let's take a look at it. So this would be warnings for me, right? Losing over here, losing 86,000. That would be, the chart doesn't look good. Over here, does the chart look good, bad? Looks completely sustainable to me. We're just about in the midpoint of the sustainable channel in an area that I think that my expectations were a lot worse for what has transpired. Obviously, I was extremely cautious moving into this area of seasonalities that generally are very unfavorable. We know that through the end of this month, that continues post-election year. We got those two main events that we need to get through, and that is earnings from specifically from Alphabet, Meta, and Microsoft, and then we have the Z Trump meeting. We get through that, we move into what is a favorable time for seasonalities. Yeah, that Bitcoin chart looks good to me. Bitcoin trading just off all-time highs looks pretty good. XRP is also included in there, by the way, or I meant to. And XRP after here's from the top, well outperforming from 2023. You'll see it. That's surprising. I thought it would have been. Well, it is. They're going to get rid of Solana, and XRP is outperforming, and it's all coming right from the election and the SEC. Gensler stepping down. But what about from the massive repricing? Let's start over there. And perspective is everything. Where are you measuring from and when? And what I look, I think XRP has more problems than ever as we're seeing a lot of its partners getting together, a lot of US banks looking to come up with their own stable coin. We'll see what happens from there, or whether, we'll see what happens. But more importantly, now after the most recent events and during this time of caution, and since like the middle of summer, I mean, we're much higher than we were in the middle of summer. In the middle of summer, I was like, listen, get like we probably will by the end of September be trading lower than we are now. It didn't happen. We were actually able to walk away with profits, and in an area that I said through the end of October we could get chopped up. Unfortunately, we didn't get chopped up, and hopefully we're able to get through this next couple of weeks and walk away out of it with some positive developments. And then I think that into the end of the year, we could be looking pretty good. Now, that might not happen. That's what my expectations are from like what is happening. We're Bitcoin here. Now you can see like rolling over. Bitcoin looking on the short side. And you all know my expectations. Once Bitcoin starts, my expectations doesn't mean that's going to happen. Bitcoin starts poking on the short side, that's likely the bottom. We'll find out. That's what I believe. Cardano in a short trade, momentum has rolled over significantly, but Bitcoin and crypto have not really been feeling it, and it has been stocks who have been able to ride that upward momentum. Outside of Nvidia, everything's on the sideline now. So just a few weeks ago, we went 100% in cash to 100% allocated, except for MicroStrategy. And now back to basically across the board, we are sidelined with the exception of NVIDIA long, Cardano short. So we've definitely acting nimble, and in an area that's uncertain, we are positioned absolutely accordingly in a really good way. Yeah, that would be a big move. And if we lost 86, 85, then we could be in for something much bigger. I don't see it, but we got to see what happens these next 2 weeks. We have to have a very, let's say, positive outcome of the summit between China and the U.S. And we got to have good, let's say, forecasts coming out of these earnings. So right now, everyone, we are positioned accordingly. There's a lot of turmoil out there. We're not feeling any of it. Calm, cool, and collected. All right, everyone. We're going to cut this one short. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Lots of love, everyone. God bless you. I'll see you all back on the inside.